I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I run into way too often when I read students' papers. And that is the distinction between summary and synthesis. Instead of describing all of it, what I'm going to do first is give you an example of the thing that, as a person who reads a lot of papers, it kind of drives me crazy. When I'm reading a research paper or an argument essay, something like that, a longer academic paper, what I often see is, let's say it's a 10-page paper, or it doesn't really matter, a 5-page paper. What I'll often see is, if it's a 5-page paper, I'll see 5 or maybe 4 individual 1-page article summaries that are written individually, sort of in a vacuum, without connection, and then they get stacked on top of each other. So as the reader, I read a 1-page summary of this article or of this source, maybe it's a study or something like that, and then I turn the page and there's another summary. It's of a different article, but it doesn't show connection to the first, and it's just a summary of this article. Turn the page, there's another summary of another article. And the language that's used to describe who wrote it, where it was found, what type of study, it's similar language. All that's different is this one, here's what they did, here's what they found. This one, here's what they did, here's what they found. This one, here's what they did, here's what they found. And those get sort of stacked on top of each other. There's a title page, and it gets submitted. So that's not an academic paper. That might be something, and there might be a place for it, and I think it's a good thing to do, to be able to summarize what a study said is not a bad thing. But in your academic writing, especially for these little more in-depth assignments where you're asked to think and to write critically, you want to avoid stacking summaries on top of each other. A better way to do it is to focus on this concept of synthesis. It's a fancy word that basically just means to put different ideas together and to come up with what those ideas are saying, and using maybe new words or new terms to describe that. Here's one way to approach it. Maybe this is the way I would suggest that you approach it. Instead of looking at each article or each study or each source individually, what you want to do is identify themes that span all the articles, or at least some of them. That, let's say you have 5 articles, and as you're reading them and you're taking notes, you might see that, oh, these first 3 articles all talk about this one idea. Maybe they approach it from different directions, but they all talk about it in some way. Well, that can be one of your themes. And then you might notice that the first 2 articles, maybe they seem in support of this idea, but the last article, they approach that same thing, but from a completely different way. Well, maybe the first 2 are pro whatever that is. Maybe that last article is totally against it. Well, this could be another theme. And in that theme, as you're discussing that theme, you could talk about how there's contrasting ideas out there in the literature. The point I'm trying to make here is that instead of organizing your paper study by study, article by article, instead you're shifting that to organizing your paper theme by theme. And I use the word theme, but you could say topic by topic or something like that. And as you're going through your different topics or different themes, you're providing evidence from your sources that support or that help create, or in maybe some cases that push against what your theme is. And so as the reader and the person who's assigning a grade, instead of seeing 5 one-page summaries stacked on each other, what I see is a well thought out paper that is focused on the ideas, and it's showing how the literature out there supports those themes and those ideas. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I hope that as I read through your papers that I can see that. And I really would challenge you, not just for this class or whatever current class you're in right now, but for the rest of your classes and the rest of your academic writing moving forward, that's how you approach them. It's not just, I need to summarize this thing that I read, but it's, how does what I read fit into a bigger picture? And how can I use what that author said to reinforce or to help inform this bigger point? Okay, that's the lesson for right now. Check in with you later.